Welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show, where you'll learn how to grow your team today. Join Ken Trupke and his guests as they discuss what works and doesn't work to grow your team in today's world. And now, your host, Ken Trupke.
Hello, and welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show. If you're looking for a short list of principles for business success, there may be no better book than Bob Burg's The Go-Giver. Co-authored with John David Mann, The Go-Giver has sold well over 1 million copies and been translated into 30 languages. And for over 30 years through The Go-Giver, his other books, his speaking and writing, Bob has successfully shown entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales professionals how to build relationships, communicate their value, and accelerate their business growth. And today, it is my true honor to welcome to the show, Mr. Bob Burg. Bob, welcome.
Wow, so great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump right in. So millions of copies, 30 languages. What has made The Go-Giver so influential for all these years?
It's a great question. I think in a sense, it gave people permission to do business the way they wanted to do business, but were often told that they could not. And I'll just give you a quick example. A realtor had told me when she first began to get into work with the real estate company she was working with, she was, focused on finding value for others, connecting people with others. She was, business focused, of course, but she was her focus was bringing value to others. And her broker said, it's not going to work that way. That's not the way the real world works. You've got to focus on one thing and one thing only. And that, the whole thing. And she just, felt terrible about it because she didn't want to do business that way. She wanted to do it with a client focus. She felt you take care of your prospects, customers, and clients, and, it's going to come to you. So she ended up leaving that firm and built a huge real estate business. And, I think that's the kind of person that really gravitated to the book. And there's nothing, when we talk about the premise of The Go-Giver being that it's a shift in focus, a shift from in focus from getting to giving. Giving in this context simply meaning constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. Understanding not only is that a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. But Ken, it's not for any kind of way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical reasons. It actually makes very logical sense. When you're that person who can take your focus off yourself and make it all about serving others, discovering their needs, their wants, their desires, okay? Helping them to solve and overcome their problems and challenges, moving them closer to happiness. People feel great about you. They want to be in a relationship with you. They know you. They like you. They trust you. They not only want to do business with you, they want to tell the world about you. This is how the world works. Nobody is going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, okay? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money or even just because you're a really nice person. People are going to do business with you because ultimately they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. That is how it is. And this is great news to that person. And I think this goes back to your original question. It's great news for that person who truly has a heart for bringing immense value to the lives of others.
Well, I so appreciate you walking through all that. It is such a refreshing pivot from what we can often be told or we hear of, you need to be out there, me first, look out for number one, and to flip that on its head and to be other focused. We just know that works. We know that feels better, and to have it laid out in such a easy to grasp framework as you did in The Go-Giver, it's just such good stuff. So I totally want the audience to read and hopefully reread The Go-Giver. Hopefully they've already read it, but just orient us, Bob. Could you just walk us through the 5 laws that you lay out in The Go-Giver?
Yeah, the five laws themselves are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The law of value is all about making the customer/client experience with you so amazing, right? And at every touch point, from when you first meet that person, through the relationship building process, through the follow-up, the follow-through, the sales process, the referral process, it's making it so wonderful for that person at every step that by the time they do business with you, they feel as though they've received much more in value than what they've paid, while you also make a very, very healthy profit. And by the way, go-givers tend to sell at the higher end of the price level because go-givers sell on high value, not low price. When you sell on low price, you're a commodity. When you sell on high value, you're a resource. Law number 2, the law of compensation, says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So law number 1 is all about the value, so very important. It's foundational. Law number 2 says your income, though, is how many lives you impact with that value. Law number 3, the law of influence, says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. No, not in a way that's doormatty or martyrish or self-sacrificial. Absolutely not at all. It's simply understanding first that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust, and that the fastest, most powerful, most effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others is by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Joe, the protege, it's making your win all about the other person's win. Law number 4, the law of authenticity, says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. As one of the mentors in the story, Deborah, shared, all the skills, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all indeed very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, not only do people feel good, feel great about you, they feel comfortable with you, and they feel safe with you because they know who they're getting. Law number 5, the law of receptivity, says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. This means nothing more than understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other, right? It's both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts, despite what so much of the world would have us believe with all the negative, lack-focused, anti-prosperity messages we receive from everywhere around us. No, it's not how it is. Giving and receiving are two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem.
So, Bob, on the first 2 laws can feel a little bit entrepreneurial, like maybe they only apply if I have a business or if I'm in business for myself. So how can you be entrepreneurial without actually being an entrepreneur?
Sure. Well, we think of the entrepreneurs actually owning their business. So who's their customer? Well, it's always eventually the end user, right? And they need to have a whole bunch of end users in order to survive. Now, the person who works for someone else, they may not be an entrepreneur in terms of owning their own business, but they are an intrapreneur. They're an entrepreneur, but within somebody else's company. They still have to do the same thing. Remember, no one's going to hire you and pay you a salary because you have a mortgage payment to meet, right? So again, it's still finding ways to focus on adding value to your customers. But in this case, your customer might be your immediate supervisor, might be the ultimate owner of the company, might be the end user, might be your colleagues, might be the people you lead, might be that person in the silo that doesn't usually share information, but because of your great relationship building skills and the value you brought to them, they share information with you that allows you to add value to the operation. So it's still a matter of being entrepreneurial. It's just within another company.
Yeah. Well, and now, Bob, you brought up a couple times, and I love the thinking on this of nobody's buying from you because you need to meet your quota, because you need to make your mortgage payment. That is not compelling in any way to our customers. And yet it seems like that's still, and maybe even more so today, thinking that I've seen it. So I know you're a huge fan of the free enterprise system. So help me understand how we get over that hurdle, how we move past the idea of it's about me to it's about you, and to rid people of the notion that letting people know what you need is somehow going to compel them to do business with you.
Yeah, it's just human nature. We're all more concerned with ourselves than we are with other people. What we've got to understand is, so are they. Right? Dale Carnegie in his 1936 classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People, said, and I really thought this was the underlying premise in his entire book. It's where he said, ultimately, people do things for their reasons, not our reasons. And that's what we've got. And we ignore that at our peril. And we talk about free enterprise. And we say free enterprise, really what we're saying is nobody's forced to do business with anyone else. Okay? Which means as the entrepreneur, the salesperson, the company, whatever, it's incumbent on you to prove value to the consumer. The biggest benefactor of a true free enterprise, I'm not talking about cronyism, but a true free market capitalism type of environment, the biggest winner is the consumer, because they're the ultimate boss. And we've always got to remember that consumer is buying for their reasons, not our reasons. That is so key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how it wraps up. And for those who haven't read the book, it's a parable. And so there's a story to it. So it's very easy to read. And the lessons kind of come at you as you go through the story. It's not like a nonfiction book where it's like bullet points full of stuff. You have summaries, but it comes naturally through the characters. And I think it unveils it in a way that's really digestible and lays out these principles.
Yeah, that's really John David Mann's expert writing. He was the lead writer, storyteller. He's a great entrepreneur himself. But boy, I'll tell you what, this guy can tell a story.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who don't know, there's 3 other books in the Go Giver series that build on the story with some of the same characters, but continue to unfold the value propositions and the ideas and the concepts and the framework that you lay out in the Go Giver. So law of authenticity. So in short, it's you. The most value you bring is your true self. In a world of social media and everybody kind of seeing what quote other people are actually doing, whether maybe they're actually doing that or not, it feels like authenticity is really hard to come by. So help me understand how to deal with that in today's environment, how to come across as truly authentic and kind of fight the inauthenticity that we see.
Yeah, and yet one thing that's really funny about that is if you read so many of the posts and so forth and comments on social media platforms, so many people talk about authenticity, and yet you see a lot of it that kind of maybe isn't there. But here's an interesting thing I found, and I think this has really taken shape since the advent of social media, and that is even the term authenticity has sort of been hijacked. It's come to mean not having any boundaries. Just say and do whatever you want and just let it, yeah, it's okay. But it's okay because, it's authentic, and that's the high. And I got to say, I respectfully disagree with that. This would be like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot. And if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. And that's malarkey. It simply means that person has an authentic problem that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more effective, authentic version of themselves. So, we hate for people to use that term authenticity as an excuse for not growing or being obnoxious or, anything. Here's my definition of authenticity. Very simple. Authenticity is simply acting congruently with your values. And I think if you before everything you say, do, tweet, post, whatever, if you say to yourself, is this congruent with my values, and you think about that and make that determination before you click send, I think you're that authentic person.
Yeah, so good. Well, I've got a few more things I want to cover with you, Bob, and we'll do that on the other side of the break. So stay with us. We're with the author of the great book, The Go-Giver, Mr. Bob Burg. We'll be right back on the Clarity Advisor Show.
Is your business where you want it to be or on track to get there? Clarity Advisors helps business leaders improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success. We specialize in helping you streamline your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Call or text Ken at 616-822-2998 to have a complimentary 12-minute call to see what some clarity could do for you.
Okay, welcome back to the Clarity Advisors Show. Today we're talking with Bob Burg, the co-author of The Go-Giver and the Go-Giver series of books. So Bob, attracting and retaining talent, such a hot issue right now for businesses of all sizes. How can leaders apply the principles of The Go-Giver to attracting and then retaining the best people?
Well, this has everything to do with leadership and the culture of the organization, which, and the culture, as you know, is defined by leadership. I think John Maxwell said everything rises and falls on leadership, and certainly the culture of an organization does. And what makes a culture one that people want to stay with, want to work hard for, want to give themselves to, and want to share the good news to others to come and join that company. And, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that none of them are going to do this because you, the leader, would like them to. Okay? So, when you think about it, what does the leader need to do in order to earn the commitment? We're not talking about compliance, right? Compliance is force. Compliance is manipulation. Compliance works for a tiny second, if it works at all. But it really doesn't. And so it's not sustainable. So what the leader wants to do is earning people's commitment, toward those goals. This comes from pull rather than push. How far can you push a rope? Not very, at least not very fast or very effectively, which is why great influencers, great leaders don't push, they pull. Now, how does that pull manifest itself? And answer that question. Well, the great leader ask themselves questions, but from the right point of focus, which is on the other person, those they lead. So they ask of the people who they're wanting to earn commitment from. They ask the question, how does what I want this person to do? How does it align with their goals? How does it align with their needs, their wants, desires? How does what I'm asking this person to do align with their values? How does what I want this person to do help overcome or solve their problems or challenges? How does what I want or what I'm asking this person to do, how does it help move them closer to happiness? And when we ask ourselves as leaders, when we ask ourselves those questions thoughtfully, intelligently, genuinely, again, authentically, not as a way to manipulate another person into doing our will, but as a way of building everyone in the process, now we've come a lot closer to earning that commitment. And I think that's really what we're talking about. Now, there are many ways, and leaders far better than I am, believe me, to go through everything that it takes to create a culture. But that's a basic element of it right there.
Yeah, it makes so much sense that it's a continuation of that idea that people aren't compelled to do things for your reasons. They're compelled to do them for your own reasons. And we all think that way. We're all compelled for our own reasons. So why wouldn't everyone else be that same way? And so whether we're talking about selling or essentially, I guess, in recruiting, you're selling your company or yourself as, trying to get somebody to buy into what you're doing and get them to join you and to compel them in. So you got to think about them. So yeah, it all fits, and it fits so well. So what would be for newer leaders, especially who make up part of the audience here, is what is your best advice these days after 30 plus years of experience and all the things you've written and the people you've spoken to and the companies you've seen, what's your best advice for leaders today, given all the changes in the environment?
Well, I would say that in a sense, it's understanding that trust is the single biggest advantage. The ability to earn and maintain trust is going to be your single biggest advantage. Stephen M.R. Covey, son of Dr. Stephen Covey of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen M.R. Covey has written several books on leadership. One was The Speed of Trust, which was just a wonderful, amazing, all his books are. But I mean, this was just, and as he says, trust is the one thing that changes everything. And to earn that trust, you're going to have to first be trustworthy, worthy of trust. And you're going to have to communicate that trustworthiness. And it's certainly not by saying, hey, I am trustworthy. It's by those actions. It's the way you deal with others. It's the way you place their interests first. It's the way you focus on them that is going to show them that you are a person, they can trust. I think that's where it really begins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that can be the foundation, and probably needs to be the foundation of everything else, because if people, as you said earlier, don't know, like, and trust you, you don't have a relationship. And without a relationship, you can't build, and people don't tend to want to do transactions or do business or have anything to do, frankly, with people they don't know, like, and trust. And so you got to have that piece of the puzzle in there, for sure.
And Stephen M.R. Covey, one thing he says when he talks about trust, he says there are two elements of it. One is character, and the other is competence. And if it's something significant that people are making a decision about, they've got to see you as having both. Because competence without high character, it's got scary. Character without competence, same thing. It's like, great, but so it's important to have both. We need to have that competence. We need to keep working on what we do. We need to have mastery with what we do, with what we're supposed to know, and always be working on our character as well.
Yeah, well, this has been so good, Bob. I so appreciate you making time to be here and walk through this stuff. It's been enjoyable to talk with you and to hear the nuggets of wisdom that just flow. So who should reach out to you, and what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, best way is just my website, burg.com. And while they're there, they can subscribe to my daily impact emails, which I send Monday through Friday.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that. And we'll get that in the show notes. We'll have links to the books and some other resources. And again, just thank you so much for being here, Bob. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ken.
And that brings us to the end of another Clarity Advisor show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Clarity Advisor Show. Clarity Advisors is a speaking, training, and consulting firm specializing in helping you simplify your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Connect with Clarity Advisors today to learn more about how they can help you improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success.